I used to think marriage sounded like ordinary music, two mugs clinking in the sink, a key in the lock, a laugh from the next room that didn't need an audience. I am Marcus. I plan safety programs for a regional construction firm. My job is to keep people honest about ladders and weather and time. My wife, Tessa, worked in brand partnerships at a trendy food company that liked neon signs, rooftop photos, and activations that cost more than my entire pickup. We were 7 years in, careful with money, loud with support, and, until recently, very boring in the best way. Her boss, though, Callum, was the opposite of boring. Picture a podcast in sunglasses. Every meeting became a show. He loved words like disruption and fearless, the kind of words that make people forget to check receipts. At first, I didn't mind him. Tessa came home energized, telling stories about big accounts and bigger ideas. Then the stories tilted. She started dropping his name like seasoning. If I said we should repaint the hallway, she'd say, Callum says green boosts creativity. If I said, let's save a little more before we book that trip, she'd say, Callum thinks calculated risk is healthy. I could have laughed it off if the alignment were professional. It wasn't. It was orbit. It started small, late messages, after-hours brainstorms, new clothes that weren't for me. I'm not the jealous type. I'm the boundary type. So one Saturday morning, while she scrolled through party venues for her upcoming birthday, I asked a plain question. Is he on the guest list? She kept scrolling. Everyone from the team is invited. It's networking. It's my night. It's your birthday, I said, not a company mixer. I'm not comfortable hosting your boss in our house. Lines matter. She set the phone down and looked at me like I was an outdated policy manual. It's 2025, Marcus. Men and women can be friends. You're being old-fashioned. I'm being married, I said. I'm asking for one thing. If you invite him, I'm out for the night. If you feature him, I'm out for more than that. She laughed softly. You wouldn't leave your own wife's birthday. I would leave a situation that disrespects our marriage, I said. I'd rather be called dramatic than be an accessory to my own erasure. We let it cool. The week filled with work and errands and other people's emergencies. On Thursday, a courier dropped off glossy black invitations with copper lettering. Tessa's 30, dress chic, bring cheer. I opened one, smiled at the typography, and set it on the counter. 2 hours later, I saw her edit the party page on her phone, adding tags, tweaking guest notes, finessing the playlist. I was chopping vegetables when her screen lit up with a preview photo, Callum's face in a collage of confetti and champagne. Under it, a caption she typed and then tapped with the satisfaction of a solved puzzle. My most special guest. She didn't see me see it. She posted. The comments sprayed in. Hearts, fire emojis, the business version of squealing. I looked down at the cutting board. My hand stayed steady. My decision, once hypothetical, was suddenly a checklist. I didn't yell. I didn't plead. I sent one text. Asterisk, you put work ahead of us. I won't fight you at your party. I'll give you the gift of space, and myself the gift of boundaries. Asterisk, then I stepped outside, breathed the cold air until my chest stopped buzzing, and called a lawyer. I keep on my phone the way other people keep a mechanic. Practical, not paranoid. His name is Lane. He helped me set up my side business years ago and speaks in neat sentences. What's the goal? He asked after listening to the short version. Protect myself and our house, I said, and put proper daylight where it belongs. Her boss is in a position of power. If she's tagging him most special guest, and there's a relationship, real or implied, there are policies. I don't want revenge. I want rails. Good, he said. We don't swing. We document. I'll draft a preservation notice for the company's general counsel and HR. Timestamp screenshots, a neutral statement of potential conflict and hostile home boundary issues, and a request that they institute a litigation hold on related communications. No accusations. No adjectives. Facts travel farther. We work for an hour. I forwarded screenshots, the post, the tag, a few internal calendar captures Tessa had shown me proudly, strategy cocktails, late brainstorm, just us. Lane crafted a short letter that sounded like a mirror. This is what exists. This is why your policies might care. Please preserve and review. He copied me, himself, and the company's published compliance inbox. Then he added a note for me alone. Asterisk change locks after the event. Separate discretionary funds. Stay polite. Do not engage in scenes. Asterisk. I packed a small overnight bag. I left a card on Tessa's dresser that said, in my tidy print, asterisk happy birthday. I love you enough not to perform. I won't be here tonight. The house stays clean, the neighbors stay friendly, and our marriage stays dignified. You're free to choose. I am free to respond. M. Asterisk. At 6, I carried folding chairs to the garage, set out the extra trash bags, stocked the fridge with sparkling water instead of messages. I took the dog to my sister's. I moved my wallet, watch, and the folder Lane had sent to a drawer with the passports and the emergency flashlight. I locked my office. Then I changed into jeans, grabbed my keys, and walked out as the first guests arrived, laughing and carrying bags that looked like plans. I spent the night at a business hotel by the highway, where the carpets always smell like lemons and resolve. I turned off my phone and turned on a basketball game. I ate room service fries and wrote out the next day list in a legal pad. Check accounts. Move my clothes to the guest room. Schedule counseling whether she comes or not. Send Lane a thank you. Go for a run. Call my mother if I can stand it. Decided. Not yet. At 1:04 a.m., my doorbell camera pinged my tablet. A burst of faces, a high laugh, someone yelling speech. Then Tessa's voice, bright with crowd courage, toasting work families and the people who see us. At 1:32, a handful of guests spilled onto the porch. Music still audible, a few cars idling, Callum's profile sharp under the porch light as he gestured too big for a neighborhood. At 2:18, the last cluster left. At 2:41, the porch was quiet again, and the camera caught Tessa leaning on the railing, scrolling through likes, the glow on her face the only light on the block. I slept deeply anyway. Calm is exhausting. In the morning, I checked out, grabbed coffee, and drove home on streets still soft with last night's applause. The house smelled like candles and cake and the kind of perfume you buy when you want to remember feeling fearless. Tessa was asleep in the bedroom, dress draped over a chair, phone face down. I cleaned. I put the glasses in the dishwasher, the empty bottles in bins, the glitter in a vacuum. I set a bottle of water by her bed and a small plate of toast on the dresser. Care isn't a performance, either. At 9, my email chimed. Lane had forwarded a red receipt. The company's general counsel had acknowledged the preservation notice and looped in HR and compliance. The message was one sentence, which is how you know it's serious. We acknowledge receipt and will institute appropriate holds immediately. At 9:30, my phone lit with an unfamiliar number. I let go to voicemail, then another and another. I checked the transcript. One was a blocked caller with a tight voice. One was the HR director asking to schedule a call regarding a matter brought to our attention. One was short, breathless, and shockingly unprofessional. Is this Marcus? This is Callum. We need to talk. Right now. I put my phone on the counter face down and kept wiping the counters. I was halfway through folding the rental tablecloth when the front door flew open hard enough to kiss the wall. I looked up. Callum stood in the entry like a storm in a suit, hair uncombed, no sunglasses this time, eyes glassy with either lack of sleep or abundance of consequence. He didn't even glance at me. He beelined to the bedroom and yelled, voice cracking, "Tessa, wake up." She jolted, sat up, pulled the sheet to her shoulders, blinking at the shape in the doorway. "What?" He didn't lower his voice. "The company," he sputtered. His lawyer just called me. General counsel. HR compliance. A hold on my email, on Slack, on the building Wi-Fi logs. "What did you make him do?" Tessa froze, mouth open, hair wild, confusion and fear battling on her face. She turned to me, finally realizing I was standing in the doorway behind him, calm, clean, done. "Marcus?" she whispered. I didn't move. I didn't raise my voice. I simply said, "I told you where the rails were." The three of us stood in a triangle of air that felt suddenly very clear. No emojis, no toasts, no curated captions, just gravity, policies, and choices about to meet consequences. Callum's shout crackled through the hallway like a dropped power line. Tessa clutched the sheet, blinking between us, trying to stitch together a story that would make the night snap back into place. It wouldn't. My phone buzzed again on the kitchen counter. I picked it up, glanced at the caller ID, **HR Director, Alabaster Foods, **, and answered on speaker. This is Marcus, a composed voice. Mr. Reeves? I'm Dana from HR. General Counsel is joining in a moment. We received a preservation request from an attorney named Lane regarding potential policy conflicts and a boundary issue at your residence. Is this a good time? Across the hall, Callum mouthed hang up at Tessa, then glared at me like he could darken the whole room. It's fine, Dana, I said, stepping into the living space to keep distance. I'm on speaker. Both parties are present. A second chime, then. Another voice, measured, practiced. Good morning, Mr. Reeves. I'm Peter Hale, General Counsel. We're instituting a litigation hold on certain communications while we determine whether our fraternization, conflict, and hostile work environment policies are implicated. We'll be sending an independent investigator to your residence simply to document the physical context described in the notice, the party, the tag, and any relevant signage or materials. You're under no obligation to cooperate inside your home. We're asking as a courtesy to expedite clarity. Are you amenable? I am, I said, with one boundary. The investigator speaks to me in the kitchen, not the bedroom. And I won't speculate. Facts only. Understood, Halle replied. Our outside investigator, Ms. Ortega, should arrive within the hour. From the bedroom, Callum barked, You can't send someone here. This is his private. Mr. Crane? Hale cut in, tone tightening. Please do not interfere with the integrity of the process. You will receive separate instructions. The line clicked. Silence swelled. Tessa finally found her voice. Marcus, it was just a tag. It was supposed to be cheeky. You're making this into a federal. I sent no accusations, I said softly. Just a timeline and screenshots. Your cheeky tag placed your supervisor in a role no policy recognizes at our home, after a pattern of off-hour strategy meetups. You can call it joke. Compliance calls it proximity and pressure. Callum tried to shoulder past me. I stepped aside and pointed toward the door. You should wait in your car, Callum. You're not welcome here without an invitation. Try and make me leave, he snapped. I held up my phone in the small laminated car that lives in my wallet. **, no trespassing. Owner occupied. CPC 602 notice **, the perk of working in safety. Ortega will want a clean scene. Don't make your day worse. He stared like a man not used to hearing no, then blew out a breath. Straightened his shirt and stalked outside, the front door slapping his pride on the way out. Tessa exhaled, shoulders dropping. I didn't sleep with him, she said, small, immediate, like a child reaching for one true statement in a room full of bad ones. I didn't say you did, I replied. I said the rails were there for a reason. She swung her legs over the bed, wrapped in the duvet, and came to the doorway. Glitter clung to her collarbone like confetti that refused to admit it was morning. Do you hate me? I don't hate you, I said. I hate performance. I gestured around us at the confetti, the empty vases, the phone face down on the dresser, is performance. She looked at the floor. I wanted to feel like my work matters. Then let your work matter at work, I answered. Not in a caption that invited a man into our home as your most special anything. A silver sedan pulled up to the curb. A woman stepped out, dark blazer, hair pulled back, clipboard under her arm, the steady gait of someone who's walked into worse. I opened the door before the bell. Ms. Ortega, she showed her credential, nodded at me, then at Tessa. Good morning. I appreciate the access. This will be brief. I'll document the space designated for the event, any visible signage referencing roles, and collect copies of the public post and tag. No interviews today. Mr. Crane will not be interviewed here to respect the residents. Behind her, Callum hovered near his car, pretending to text like texting could make witnesses disappear. We moved through the house like we were in a museum of last night. Ortega's questions were precise and boring in the most comforting way. Was the event labeled a work function anywhere, written or verbal? No, I said. It was her birthday. The guest list included colleagues and non-colleagues. Any signage naming VIPs? Just a chalkboard with 30, flirty, thriving, and a playlist tablet. Ortega photographed the chalkboard. The empty ice buckets, the corner where a rented photo booth had stood, evidenced by a tangle of props and a foam crown with CEO in glitter letters. "Who placed the most special guest tag?" she asked, neutral. Tessa's voice wavered. "I did. On my post." It wasn't a physical badge. "Understood," Ortega said, tapping. "Please email the public link and a screenshot with the timestamp." She paused, then looked in my direction. "Mr. Reeves, your counsel's letter referenced after-hours calendars and messages. We'll subpoena directly, but if you have copies, you may transmit them to General Counsel today." "I'll forward what's mine to forward," I said. "No snooping. Just what I was shown while this was still a marriage." She nodded, finished her notes, and closed the clipboard. "That's it for today. Ms. Jensen," she turned to Tessa. "Until this is resolved, please refrain from contact with Mr. Crane outside formal channels. It protects both of you." Tessa swallowed. "Okay." We walked Ortega to the door. Callum took 2 steps toward the porch like a man about to filibuster. She lifted a hand without looking at him. "Mr. Crane, you'll receive your interview schedule by email. Please refrain from discussing this matter with subordinates." He shifted from foot to foot, the unease of a showman without a stage. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. "It was a party. It was a decision," Ortega said. "Ridiculous is subjective. Policy is not." She got in her sedan and left. Callum stepped forward, voice dropping to a warning hiss. "You think getting HR involved makes you noble, Marcus? She'll lose her team. I'll lose mine. And for what? Your ego." I shook my head. "For boundaries. And sunlight." He laughed harshly. "You don't understand how this world works." "On the contrary," I said. "I make a living writing job hazard analyses. Every fall starts with someone assuming gravity doesn't apply to them." He flinched, then glanced past me to Tessa. "Tell him to fix this." Tessa wrapped the duvet tighter. "I can't fix this," she said, voice thin. "I did this." She looked at me, eyes wet. "I am sorry." Something unclenched in my chest. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Just the sense that we were finally in the same weather. Callum backed toward his car, face hardening into PR. "Fine. My lawyers will." A white SUV rolled up behind him. A woman and a man stepped out wearing company badges on lanyards. The woman, mid-40s, steady, introduced herself. "I'm Priya Singh, Director of HR. This is Evan from Security. Mr. Crane, your laptop and phone, please. You're on administrative leave, pending investigation. Return your card and keys." For a second, I thought he might perform the scene he'd practiced in his head, the defiant speech, the refusal. Then he saw Security's expression, the kind that has heard every speech and still holds out the same tray. He deflated in tiny increments. He handed over a phone, a slim laptop, a key card he tried and failed to tuck under a joke. "You'll be hearing from my attorney." "You'll be hearing from me," Singh replied evenly. "We'll schedule your interview for tomorrow." They turned to Tessa. "Ms. Jensen, we're not placing you on leave at this time. You'll be reassigned to a different project, and we expect no contact with Mr. Crane outside this process. We'll also provide an external counselor at company expense." Tessa swallowed. "Thank you." After they drove off with a very quiet Callum in their mirror, the house swelled with an absence that sounded like relief and consequence mixed together. We sat at the kitchen table. I made coffee. I've learned that big mornings are gentler with cups in hand. "I don't know how to be the person I keep pretending to be," Tessa said finally, staring at the coaster. "That's a start," I said. "Start being the person who says I don't know before the caption goes up." She nodded, a tremor moving through her fingers. "What happens to us? We stop performing," I answered. "We see a counselor. We split finances into must and nice. We take 90 days where nobody is anyone's most special anything. And we decide at the end, not the beginning." Her face crumpled. "I'll do it. I will." My phone buzzed. "Lane, *GC appreciates your cooperation. They'll handle the rest. Suggest you document today's visit in a timeline for your own records. Proud of how you kept it boring. *" I huffed a laugh. Boring was suddenly a compliment with a crown. By noon, a formal email hit both our inboxes. Acknowledgement of hold and process, bullet points, dates, definitions. The kind of email that looks dull until you're the reason it exists. Tessa stared at the screen. I've been telling myself our company is a family, she said. Turns out families have rules. Good families do, I said. At 2, my sister dropped our dog back off, hugged Tessa in that careful way women reserve for other women who have just realized the ground has edges. At 3, I changed the locks, not to punish but to mark. I handed Tessa a new key. She looked surprised. You're not throwing me out? I'm not writing a headline, I said. I'm writing a plan. We spent the rest of the afternoon quietly putting the house back in order. I fixed the photo frame that had tilted during the festivities. Tessa wiped glitter off the banister with the focus of a penitent. She paused at the trash, holding the foam CEO crown. Should I keep this as a reminder? Throw it out, I said. Let the reminder be the empty space. That evening, my mother texted, Asterisk saw your neighbor's Facebook. Party looked fancy. You okay? Asterisk I typed back. Asterisk we're on the rails. Call you tomorrow. Asterisk. At sunset, we sat on the back steps. The sky threw a decent apology across our fence. Tessa cleared her throat. I thought about inviting him because I wanted to feel chosen. You were, I said. For 7 years. She nodded, swallowed. I know. Inside, my phone buzzed once more. A calendar invite. Appeared, asterisk asterisk initial mediation. Reeves/Jensen asterisk asterisk from the counselor I'd contacted that morning. I clicked accept. Tessa did too, quietly. We went to bed in separate rooms. Not cold. Ordered. Just before I turned out the light, another email landed. Notice of interview schedule, V. Ortega. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., kitchen table. I closed my eyes and thought about ladders and gravity and the minimum distance between safety and spectacle. In the morning, we'd climb, or we wouldn't. But at least now we knew where the rungs were. The next morning, sunlight slid through the blinds like it didn't care that our world was under review. Tessa sat at the kitchen table in a gray hoodie, her hair tied back, eyes rimmed red but steady. At exactly 10 a.m., the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Ms. Ortega, punctual as a sunrise, clipboard in one hand, tablet in the other. Good morning, she said, nodding politely. I'll keep this short. I just need to clarify a few items before submitting my report. We sat across from her, the smell of coffee and quiet hanging heavy. Mr. Reeves, she began, thank you for your cooperation. I've already confirmed the authenticity of your screenshots and the preservation of the digital post. Before we move to statements, is there anything you'd like to add? No, I said. Everything I've shared is factual. No speculation, no assumptions. Good, she said, turning to Tessa. And Ms. Jensen, you've confirmed that the most special guest tag referred to your direct supervisor? Tessa's throat bobbed. Yes. Did you understand that such language, in a public post tied to a company event, could create the perception of favoritism or a personal relationship? Tessa nodded slowly. I do now. Ortega studied her for a long moment before continuing. Your employer's internal review revealed multiple late-night message exchanges, calendar invites, and unsanctioned off-site meetings with Mr. Crane. They may not prove misconduct, but they establish blurred boundaries. You'll likely receive a written reprimand and be required to attend ethics retraining. You'll retain your job if you comply. Tessa exhaled shakily, relief and shame colliding in her expression. I will. I'll do whatever it takes. Then Ortega turned to me. Mr. Reeves, General Counsel wanted me to convey appreciation for your discretion. They also asked if you'd be willing to provide a statement for a separate inquiry pertaining to Mr. Crane's conduct toward other subordinates. I blinked. Other subordinates? She nodded. We've received additional complaints since this incident became known. It appears your documentation opened a much-needed review. Tessa's eyes widened. So this wasn't just about me? Unfortunately, no, Ortega said. You weren't the only one caught in his gravity. She gathered her papers and stood. I'll finalize my report by the end of the week. If either of you need counseling referrals or legal resources, HR will provide them. Good day. When the door shut, Tessa stared at the tabletop, her voice barely a whisper. I thought I was special. I poured her another coffee and sat down. You were targeted. That's different. She shook her head. No, I wanted to feel admired. I made it easy for him, and I almost destroyed us. I let the words hang. There is no victory in saying I told you so. Some lessons brand themselves deeply enough without narration. 2 days later, HR released its findings. Callum, Mr. Crane, was terminated. Multiple violations, pattern of inappropriate relationships, misuse of company resources. The internal memo went out to every department, written in the polite tone of corporate justice. Leadership change effective immediately. That evening, Tessa came home with a company-issued counselor's card and a box of desk plants. They moved me to another department, she said quietly. No leadership duties, just standard hours. I'm grateful. We sat together on the porch as twilight settled in. She turned to me after a long silence. Do you think we can fix this? I think we can heal, I said. Fixing implies it'll look the same as before. It won't. Her eyes glistened. I'll take healing. Weeks turned into months. Therapy became routine. Some days were heavy, full of apologies and silences that sounded like glass being swept off the floor. Other days lighter, shared dinners, honest laughter, cautious rebuilding. Then one afternoon, I came home to find a small envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was a handwritten note from Tessa. Asterisk Marcus, I've been accepted into a leadership ethics fellowship. I told them the truth about what happened, how I let ambition cloud respect. I want to teach other women in business not to mistake attention for validation. Thank you for giving me the space to face it. I'll be gone for 2 weeks, but I'll come back stronger. Asterisk. For the first time, I believed her. By spring, our lives had shifted into something quieter but sturdier. Tessa still worked at the same company, now under different management. I'd taken up weekend woodworking, finding calm in sawdust and precision. The scandal faded from headlines, replaced by newer, shinier disasters. One evening, while cleaning the garage, I found the old most special guest chalkboard tucked behind a toolbox. I almost threw it away, then paused. With a piece of white chalk, I crossed out the words and wrote new ones. Respect, trust, peace, asterisk, asterisk. I left it hanging on the wall, a reminder of where we'd nearly fallen and how we'd learned to climb again. Tessa came out with a glass of lemonade, noticed the board, and smiled faintly. You kept it. It's useful, I said. Good to remember what not to repeat. She nodded. I soughed. You know, Marcus, you could have destroyed me. Publicly. But you didn't. I wasn't trying to destroy anyone, I said. Just to protect what's left of my dignity. And you did, she whispered. She stepped closer, took my hand. And for the first time in a long while, the touch didn't feel like pretending. It felt real, fragile, and earned. Later that night, after she fell asleep, I stood by the window, watching the rain tap against the glass. Revenge had never been my goal. But justice, truth, and peace, those had found me anyway. And maybe that's the best kind of revenge there is. The kind where you walk away cleaner, calmer, and freer than the ones who try to play you. If you've ever faced betrayal, ask yourself this. Would you rather destroy them or outgrow them so completely that they could never reach your peace again? Sometimes, the most powerful answer is silence.